Manny's Power Hour, guys. So glad to have you back. We got this guy in the building again. I guess it's nice to have you on the show. I don't know. We got Matrix / fake film doctor / guy who does the story of / legend talk / legend Michael / you got too many AKAs. You need to cut your AKAs now.
Well, one of those AKAs has been falsified because I am the real film doctor, and that's all I have to say.
Thanks for coming on the show. So, guys, the format we got today, I wanted to try something new. We got it still in the background as opposed to gameplay today. We're going to talk about some news. So, some of the news that has been going on this week that I wanted to get Bowie's opinion on, Matrix's opinion on. We've got I want to let him give his review of Hitman 3. I know he's played through the whole thing now. Have you done it twice, I believe?
No, I just played through it once.
Okay. So let him give his review of Hitman 3, and then I'll give my review of Spider-Man Miles Morales and not spoil it. So that's kind of the format we'll have today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I would love to hear what you guys are saying. So let's get started with the show. So first I want to talk about the PS5 controllers. So there was a class action lawsuit filed due to drift in the PS5 controllers. And I know I kind of mentioned this to you earlier, but it was still kind of new and fresh in your brain. Because apparently the drift has gotten so bad in some people's controllers that it makes the game unplayable, especially with that dual sense feel type of controller that PlayStation has put out. Do you got any thoughts on that?
My thoughts are it just bothers me at the fact that they spend so much money to develop these systems, and they hurry up to push them out because maybe another person, so they want to be in competition with whoever else is putting, whether it's Xbox or Nintendo, whatever. Let's hurry up and put out a system. They spend all this money, and then when it comes out, it costs a lot of money. You spend a lot of money to get it, and then you have issues. When the Xbox and the PlayStation came out, there was hardware issues. Now there's this with the controller issues. I know Switch had drift issues with the controllers, Joy-Cons and everything. Just, if you're going to have all this money, you should have had somebody doing a lot of tests to make sure that none of these issues would come up when people spend a lot of money. It cost us $700-800 for the PlayStation when we bought it. I shouldn't have to spend $700-800, and we got some minor kinks. And then a lot of times they'll say, well, you have a 1-year warranty. When that's up, then you have to pay. At least with Xbox, I'm just coming back to Sony, so I don't know if they operate under that same thing. But it's like, bro, your system is the one that's messed up. Like, why? It should be 10 years. If shit just happens that is a malfunction, then that really should be on you guys. Like, there should be certain things that are really covered inside of that. And I guess you would understand it more from a law perspective, where it's just like, oh, well, that's the way they did it. That's in the contract, whatever the case may be. But it just bothers me because we're not out here as millionaires. We're not, wealthy people that, for everybody that may have a system, to be able to say, well, if it's not out of warranty and it messes up. So I can see why somebody would file a lawsuit, as much money as what those systems cost. So
yeah, my kind of perspective on it is twofold. From I'll give my legal perspective on it, and then my gamer perspective on it. So my legal perspective on it is I haven't actually read the lawsuit yet, but I'll delve into that and kind of see what it's talking about. But from just like a contracting standpoint, right? Like, we have people sign a bunch of stuff in general. Like when you purchase things from Best Buy or when you purchase things from anything, there's stuff at the bottom that tells you, like, it's basically a contract with the store that you're going into. It's not like you can opt out of that or negotiate on the spot. That's what I do. I negotiate contracts daily. That's my job. But for instance, we bought carpet for our house. I can't negotiate the contract for the carpet with them. Like those common purchases, you have to agree or you can't use their service. So it's just like, agree or don't use this. And, that's that can go both ways in the legal sphere. Sometimes that doesn't work because, you can't cover everything and just leave everybody open to your mistakes. That's not how this works. Product consumer law is very detailed, and it's very description based. So it's a lot to it on the legal side, and I would love to see where this goes. And if they get something out of it, I mean, maybe you could get something out of it, and you and I could get something out of it too. Then, if this is a systemic problem. As far as my gaming perspective, I 100% agree with you. We spend so much money on games. We make these people billions of dollars when we buy their consoles. PS5 in particular has been extremely hard to get. We were so lucky to get the ones that we got, and that took months to get. There are still people who want a PS5 that don't even have it. So, the fact that, the supply is low because you guys didn't take care of these scalpers out here, and then now you're having hardware issues. People's PS5s were bricky, and now you're having controller issues. It's just like with regular games, I feel like they don't test their games at all. I feel like they just throw. We are the beta testers for everything now, as opposed to them having real people that
I could see that because I could see how that would save them money, and they're all about money. But in the same point is that they're not. They should be about customers. They're not making money without the customers, so the product has to be good. It's like, well, if you sell if you make a car and the car has a faulty engine, and it's just and then people die from it. It's like. You should have had this tested to where this wouldn't fall apart. Now, granted, I can see maybe one or two here or there just by some miracle, but at some point, if you're making the car the same way, if you're making the system the same way, you really shouldn't run into those issues.
Yeah, I agree. So we will see what comes of this class action lawsuit. I will keep you guys updated here on NPH and let you know what's happening. Moving on to our next piece of news. I don't know how much you know about Google Stadia.
Stadia? I don't even know what that is.
So Stadia is a console that Google made a couple years back, and it came out and they were like, it's 40K, 60 FPS, it's the top of the line console, it's just like a PC, all that. And so and then they bought all these independent game developers up to put games out on their Stadia. Well, they have since closed that down. There will no longer be independent games on Google Stadia. And mind you, this project, Google Stadia, came out 2 years ago. So it's been 2 years since this console's been a thing, and now it's completely going down. They won't have independent game developers. They're basically closing down their services on Google Stadia. And it has come out that the console actually isn't 4K 60 FPS at all. Some games don't even run at that. So now people are suing them for that. So Stadia, in a matter of 2 years, has basically gone away. It'll be like a collector's item. Dreamcast was good, but it'll be a collector's item like the Dreamcast or something like that. You got any thoughts on Google Stadia and its demise?
I mean, you say it's demise. I don't know if it even had a reprise, or, if it had an initial reaction from anybody. How many people would actually even know about that? But we're in this era where things are changing so dramatically, and all these different companies are trying to get a piece of the pie. I just found out.
You brought up a real thing, and we can tie two news stories in together since you don't know too much about Stadia. So Amazon.
Well, I wanted to tell you, because just before you do that, is that when I was talking about the piece of pie, because we do movies and everything, I found out that Paramount is now trying to do a streaming channel no different than Disney Plus when they brought it up after Netflix and everything else. Everybody, it's going to be to a point Warner Brothers streaming, and now you're talking about gaming. So all these different people are probably going to try and come out with gaming systems, and everything's going to have a good show or something on it, or a good game, exclusive game or whatever, so much so where people are I want it, so then they go out and buy it, and now you're broke again because everybody it wants.
When you're paying 10 subscription services, $10 a month, that's $100 a month.
It may be $10-15, but if you multiply that times 20 goddamn things, then you're paying a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, so just to tie in, because you had an interesting point to tie in another news story that I have. So Amazon were working on making their own independent games as an independent studio, and the point was to kind of draw people into Prime through Twitch, and then draw people into just like Amazon's basic services, like putting ads and stuff for Amazon's basic services in the games that they were developing. And they flopped primarily due to their leadership. And I think this is a good like overall lesson point, just a life lesson point for leadership. So basically, the guy at the top, and forgive me, I can't remember his name. The guy over Amazon Gaming, he was basically going around telling people just make a Destiny, make a Call of Duty, make $1 billion franchise, not knowing that that's not how game development works. Call of Duty didn't start out as a $1 billion franchise. You know, Destiny didn't start out as a $1 billion franchise. All those things have like, it takes work to get to that point, and he wasn't listening to the developers that they hired, and so they kept putting out bad products, and you know their ship is sinking, and now they have a timeline where Amazon Gaming might not even be a thing. But kind of, I guess, talk about the standpoint of how important leadership is. Life lesson on Manny's Power Hour. Leadership is in listening to your team as you run your own company. Listening to and involving your team when making decisions, and you know how that can help move a company forward. You know, I know this isn't a gaming show in a specific space in gaming, but it is affecting gaming. So I think it would be interesting to hear your perspective on that.
Well, it's not just from the perspective of the fact that I own and run my own company, but also that I've owned and ran like a gaming team. I ran a team called IWMW for about 15 plus years as the leader. And I think that leadership is very important, but it's very difficult. Anybody that works underneath you can complain and be part of the problem. Well, I wish you would do it this way. Well, then you jump in there and do it. It's like I can complain about precedents all day, but until I go in there and have to do the job, then people are complaining. It's easier to complain than to be the person that has to resolve. So you can't be somebody that complains as an employee or somebody under the person that's at the top tier. You have to be able to work with that person. You have to, nobody's going to make 100% the right calls. There's going to be things that are done. I mean, that's why you have GameStop that started to go down the drain, and then all of a sudden it came back. A lot of people stayed with them and believed in them because they weren't somebody that was going against it and being conflictual. They believed inside the dream, and that one day maybe things would skyrocket, which it did, instead of being somebody that jumps off the ship as it's going down. They stayed on the ship as it was going down, and somehow somebody patched the holes and it's back afloat for GameStop and many other things. So it's difficult to be that leader in a leadership kind of role, but it's I think that anybody that's working with them, it's good to have that team, because even as the leader of the clan, leader of my company, I can't be coming up with that's not even, that sounded so ghetto. I can't be the only one that's coming up with all the ideas. Sometimes fresh ideas can be pitched, and so therefore, as the person that is the top tier or leader or company owner, CEO, or whatever, they know what's best for that company. So they can listen to those things and say, I didn't even think about it. It's just thinking about stuff from a different perspective. You're always on one side of the window. You can always step to the other side, but you may not understand until someone puts that understanding out there. So I think, even for all the jobs, I work many of jobs, they may not be doing things really effectively. And I've been at jobs where it's just like, why don't you guys do it this way? Wouldn't it be a lot easier? And I've heard my bosses say, you know what? That's a really good idea. Let's try it. I'm not the boss, they're the boss. But because I'm pitching fresh ideas, it helped make things easier at that job. Yeah. And that's the importance of employees, not just employees working, is to be able to try things that are new, to experiment and come up with different ways of doing things that the top person hasn't thought about. And from a gaming perspective, it applied in that same aspect with IWMW. All day, I have experience that transcended from, the first Xbox on the first Rainbow, let's do it this way. It's always worked. But gaming had changed, 15 years later or whatever, where somebody was, a younger kid was like, we should probably try this. And sometimes I would take that idea, like, I've never done it. fuck it, let's try it. And it may have had good results, it may have had bad results. But I also make bad decisions, and that's kind of the thing that those employees have to understand, is that you kind of work together to build that company up. Yes, you have that person that's the leader or CEO, and yes, you have employees that may be down here, but at the same point is that we're all here trying to bring it here realistically. So that's my thoughts about it.
Yeah, the distinction, I guess, would be this guy has never had experience in the gaming department. And that's the difference. I feel like you have experience in the fields that you are, in the places of leadership that you talked about. He didn't have any experience in the gaming world, and he just kind of came in with like a mandate. And so that's important too. Like, when you're picking a leader or you have leadership, make sure you have someone with experience and knowledge to be able to guide everybody else in the right direction.
Have you ever been in that leadership aspect? And I
yes.
know that you're interviewing me, but what are your thoughts if you've ever been in that? Has that played out that same, at least how I explained it, or how you believe it to be?
My experiences with leadership is primarily been a little bit different than yours, I guess. So I was the president of my fraternity in college, and that's like 30 people that you're trying to help, people in different positions that you're like not overseeing. Because I hate to use that word. And my perspective on leadership changed when I became the president, as opposed to what I was before, what my vision was before that. My goal when I became the president of my organization wasn't to like oversee or micromanage people. I think the best way for me in that position to lead was to step back and let them guide where we were going. And then if there was something that needed a forceful hand, I would put it in there just to say, well, hey guys, this is really what we need to do, or we need to get this done, this and this done, and we need it done by this time. So that's kind of how I handled it and my perspective on just that one leadership position I've had in my life. I've had other leadership positions, but like that's primarily one.
Was it ever to a point where people underneath you that in the fraternity would suggest things, and you had? Was it? I don't want to say treated like a dictatorship, where it was just like you make the calls. Did they have input into that?
It depends on what it is, right? Everything has a hierarchy for a reason. And it depended on what it is. For a lot of things, yeah, they had a lot of input. We decided a lot of things as a group, too. Like, a lot of things had to be voted on by everybody. But some decisions were made by me. Or I would let my vice president, lieutenant commander, decide. Just to include everybody so that there wasn't a decision making. And whenever I made a decision that needed to be made by me, what happened is I would go around and ask everybody what they thought. So that way I would have a fresh perspective that wasn't just my own, right?
And then to apply that, do you think that that's the way these big corporations do it?
I don't. So just from I work for a nonprofit educational institution, so. And I've worked for, a football team. So, from the two perspectives that I have, yes, that is how good leadership is. When I was with the Vikings, their CEO, he would have meetings with people, and he would ask them if he was going to make a change. And I was only there for a brief time, but I noticed this. When he was making a big change, he would bring a lot of people in. He would ask them their opinions. He would consult on it. Some things he wouldn't consult on, and he would make a decision on their own. But I feel like everywhere I've gone where I have seen good leadership, it's, everything isn't always a collaborative process, but they try to do, especially things that are going to affect other people, right? They try to have a collaborative process on it and get as much information and perspectives as they possibly can before making a decision. So, that's kind of what I've seen. So that's kind of some bits of news we got for today. We'll have some more bits of news. So I'm going to let you go ahead and get into your Hitman 3 review. I haven't fully played Hitman 3, but I am interested to hear what you have to say.
So am I spoiling anything with inside of this?
Try to keep the spoil. If you're gonna say a spoiler, I'll say spoiler warning. Let me know, but try to keep the spoilers to a minimum.
I mean, I feel like spoiling would be like talking about the story, and I don't intend to talk about the story of what happens in it. And to me, I mean, I like it. I like all of the Hitmans. I think that they're all good games. My whole thing is, I guess I'm a hypocrite for saying this because, excuse me, I feel like I always say I hate when they change up stuff, kind of like what Call of Duty did, where they have this really good formula that worked. Now you have the guys that are flying in the air because they wanted to reinvent and change up things and make it more interesting and whatever the case may be. And now here I am looking at Hitman 3 from the first two, and I'm like, it just seems like the same game, just a different story, a couple of new weapons, maybe. Like, it's not really appealing to me. I still love the game. I'm not down in the game because I love the idea of this secret agent, hitman kind of mentality. I was a big fan of Splinter Cell. So I like going around, beating up people secretively as a secret op, special ops. He's a killer, hitman going around killing people and whatnot. I love the gadgets and the weapons. I've always been a fan of 007. But I don't know. It was just the same game, different story, a couple of new weapons. They took off multiplayer. There's nothing unique about it that stands out. So to me, it's the same as Hitman 2 and my love for that. It's the same as Hitman 1. It wasn't something where I was like, oh my God, this is way better than Hitman 2 and 1. It's the same game. It's just a different story. I like a lot of the, effects that you would see, the cutscenes and everything else. I love the locations. One of the things that did bother me is there's a lot of times where you don't get to use weapons. Like you start off and they're like, don't hurt anybody. I'm like, isn't the game Hitman? Like I gotta go hurt somebody. Like, let me go kill somebody, please. Like, let me. But there's a lot of times where it's just like, they take away stuff to kind of put you at a handicap and you still have to complete the mission. I don't remember if there was difficulties and what difficulty I play. I try not to play at the hardest because, a long time ago when I was playing a lot of the Call of Duties, I would play those stories at the hardest difficulty because I'm like, I'm a game god. No pun intended. And I say that and laugh for those that don't know, because Game Gods, a new show on Bowie Films, will be coming out. Cheap plug. But the fact of the matter is that, I played those games at the hardest level because I wanted to prove a point that I'm that good at video games. But now I kind of played them at a lower level so I can enjoy the story and enjoy playing the game and get through it without any trouble. And, even with the new Spider-Man, I'm playing the first one, not the second one out of order like you. I'm still playing that at a, I think they have like 4 different difficulties. They have like 4 different difficulties, and at the top one, I can't, I didn't want to play at the cheapest one. I didn't want to play at the hardest one, so I played at like the middle one. I can't hear you. So I
think the top difficulty is there's
friendly.
Friendly is lower difficulty, so it's friendly neighborhood.
Well, that's what I kind of mean when
amazing
I
is at the top.
That's what I mean. Yeah, when I say top, I mean because at the top on the screen it will say like friendly, this, and it would get harder. So to me, I'm looking at it from the top here. The top, I guess, backwards. If you want to say like top is in 1 to 10, 10 being hardest, then yes, amazing would be like that hardest one.
Yeah.
But yes, so that's kind of my take on it. I mean,
would you recommend people play?
Yeah, I mean, if you like the first 1 and 2, then you'll like the 3 because they're the same damn game. It's just a different story.
If you had to give Hitman a rating, what would your rating be? A Metascore, critic rating, so it's 1 through 10. What would
so I'm rating it 1 through 10?
Yeah.
8.
8. That's pretty high for the same game that you played twice, but.
I mean, I liked 1 and 2, so what? Because at first, when you asked me that, I was going to be like, well, whatever I gave 1 and 2 is the same rating. So, I mean, I that's what I would give 1 and 2. Okay. It is an 8. I really liked them the first time playing Hitman 1, I was like, oh, this is so good. It's an 8. Like, yeah, it could be better, but it's an 8. Then playing number 2, I'm like, yeah, it's the same as 1, but it's still an 8. I really like it. So it's the same with 3, where I'm like, it's the same as 1 and 2, but I like it. There's a couple of differences with weapons and, you know, the locations, which I really like. Now, the last mission, like I said, I don't want to spoil too much. I didn't really like the last mission. Can I say where it was?
Sure.
It's like on a train.
Okay.
So there's not many places you can go. It's straight.
Hard to be stealthy on a train, yeah.
You can only go straight, and it's like those box carts, so it's not like a big ass train. Like it's a really like a hallway, cart.
Yeah.
Hallway, cart. Like there's not much you can do. And yeah, you can go on top of the train. But it I don't know. I didn't really like the last minute and how it ended. Like you come across the villain, the main villain, the boss. I'm thinking I'm gonna fight him and shit, and then end credits. So.
Oh. Because Hitman 4 has to come out, obviously.
Which is gonna be the same as Hitman 1, 2, and 3 at an 8.
Yeah. So, I appreciate your Hitman review. I know I owed you guys a Hitman review, so I'm glad Matrix was here to do that. I am going to talk about Spider-Man PS5, Miles Morales. So I actually played Miles Morales first and did not play the remaster first because they aren't connected, like someone thinks.
They are, but
they're not.
But they are.
But the stories have nothing to do with each other, but they're not.
Connected. Go ahead.
This game is fire. I had so much fun playing Spider-Man Miles Morales. I think I played it on either Friendly or Friendly Neighborhood.
You would play it on Friendly.
Whatever the middle one is. Whatever the middle difficulty is. I enjoyed it so much. And it was like watching a movie. I can honestly say that. It was like playing a game while also simultaneously watching a movie. So much so that my wife was interested in what was happening during the entire time of me playing this game. Like she was genuinely interested in it, and so it was phenomenal.
What do you mean, like a movie though? Like meaning that there's a lot of cutscenes, or just the way it plays out?
The way it plays, like the way you play the game, the story is like a movie story, you know, and the cutscenes are put together like a movie. You feel like if you just play, you know, I played some side missions, obviously, but if you
what I was going to ask, is there side missions? Because I know I haven't played Miles Morales, and you haven't played regular Spider-Man, but there's so many in the first one of side missions. There's like, I feel like there's like 80 side missions of sorts, of different kinds that you can play.
Yeah, there's a ton of side missions, and there are always crime notices. You could play Spider-Man Miles Morales for a while and not get through all the side missions. There's a ton of side missions. I played some of the side missions, but if you were just play the story, like the main story, campaign storyline through, it's so great, and there's so many cutscenes and flashbacks, and they really did a good job on this, and this is why we don't get Spider-Man games all that often. You know, because they put a lot of work into these games, and a lot goes into them. I will say that the story felt short to me, because I don't think I have like over 3 hours of gameplay on it. I can recheck my PS5, but I don't think I have over 3 hours of gameplay on Spider-Man. And
so I've been playing first Spider-Man for like 8 hours of gameplay.
I don't know that I have more than 3 or 4 hours of gameplay on Spider-Man, and I'm already done with the story. So I will say that was obviously, it was kind of short. And you don't, I don't want to spoil it.
Don't.
I'm not gonna say anything. But it's a powerful story. I enjoyed it. The fighting mechanics and everything are the same, except for Miles has his own kind of style, you know, that's different than Peter's in the remaster. So he's got his own kind of things and moves going on, and weapons and gadgets, and Suits, there are a plethora of suits you can choose from that are amazing. That you can buy with the tech you find around the city from just playing the game. It's not microtransaction. This game has zero. You don't have to buy a microtransaction in this game, period. Put it to you like that. I don't even think there are microtransactions in this game. You earn everything by playing the game. So that, again, can't thank them enough for that. Yeah, I mean, just from the action, the fighting, I thought the fighting mechanics were really good. Learning how to do new moves, and you're learning, the way you learn your new moves is, Miles has different powers that I'm not gonna spoil. He's not just like Peter, where he has a set skill set. He gets different things along the way, and when you get those, you get to use them and experiment with them in the game. So I can tell you, please play, if you have a PS5 or a PS4. If you have a PS5, please play Spider-Man Miles Morales. I'm going to give that game 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. It's fantastic. Any thoughts on my Spider-Man Miles Morales review or any questions?
I haven't played it for me to have any. I'm going based on the first one, and I'm not done with that one.
How far are you in the remaster?
Well, I don't really know. I know, like, it gives you percentages per mission. I don't know where to see where that percentage is overall for the entire game. I would assume that I'm coming up towards the end of it. But when you said 10 out of 10 for Miles Morales, I was like, damn. I mean, this Spider-Man that I'm playing, the first one, is good, but do I really give that a 10 out of 10? Like,
Miles Morales is fire. It's fire.
I don't like. And I don't know if it's the same thing on Miles Morales, but, like, I have to swing around town for, like, 5 minutes to get to missions, and I'm just like, bro, let me just make them a little bit closer so I can get things going.
They make that interesting because they make swinging. You still have to go around town web swinging. I mean, this is just part of being Spider-Man. But they make it interesting. They add different mechanics in that you can use that you're not just swinging around.
Like, I know that I'm unlocking certain things where I can go faster and do tricks and run up walls faster and whatever the case may be, and I haven't done all that because I'm doing some of the other things, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know about a 10, like a 9.
I'm telling you, it's fire. And the stealth, I didn't even mention the stealth in the game. If you like stealth, you're gonna like Spider-Man Miles Morales. You can complete all your missions stealthily. You don't even have to go out guns a-blazing. You do that if you want to. The stealth in the game is fire.
Spider-Man, some aspect. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I can't wait to finish it.
You know what? I'm gonna have to have you back after you finish it.
Here's the thing. Like, I love playing the Spider-Man right now. I have not done all the side missions. Go and get the teddy bears and go to the towers and fight crime in the city. Decrypt all these little things and Oscorp and stuff. Like, I haven't done nearly as much as all of that stuff. But I know that once I finish the story mode, I'm going to want to, because I want to unlock all of his, like, abilities and everything. I want to get as many suits and gadget upgrades as possible before I move over to Miles Morales. I don't know how long that's going to take. With all these damn missions, I could be here all of 2021 just trying to do this shit before I get to Miles Morales.
Because you're going to get to the end of the story, you're going to be like, okay, I got to see. He told me this was so fire. I got to see it. And knowing you're going to try to downplay it, but
I'm not you. You're the one that downplays it.
So we'll see. Yeah, guys, that's the show for today. I mean, that's all we got. Please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. You're not going to mind? Yeah, I was about to say. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. I want to thank Matrix for being on the show with me. Let me know if you guys prefer to have the gameplay in the background or if you like the still image of Manny's Power Hour that's in the background. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. This has been another exciting episode of Manny's Power Hour.